So, what's the deal with nonchalant men and the sour end of princess treatment that no one talks about? If Love Island is useful for anything, it's in helping us have conversations about the hidden politics of dating that can actually affect your life. And couple Shelley and Ace, who've been circling each other since the beginning of this show, they've hit their first major conflict. Do we know how it will resolve? No, that's probably going to drop sometime tonight when the new episode comes out. But it does touch on the serious question of what it means for someone to treat you well. What's the motive behind that? Is it about their image of themselves or their image of you? Is it possible for people to pick up on, in a social context, this kind of action that is used to mark something about goodness and then manipulate it to get something out of you? Viewers like you have been suspicious of Ace from day one. He tends to be very invested in other people's gameplay on the show, because remember, $100,000 is at stake here, and very interested in how the other men deal with their relationships. He has preached an anti-simp gospel pretty consistently, and it's made it very clear that he wants Shelley to be very much all about him while still kind of playing it cool with her. I mean, he tells her that he likes her, but he does have this nonchalant attitude that he doesn't ever let drop. This is the guy who very sweetly cried when his friend Nick was being dumped from the island, but then apologized for it. You could tell he felt really bad about expressing that emotion. He talks about being cool with the whole game and the situation, but he does get defensive when Shelley shows interest in anyone else. There's this calm, laid-back demeanor that projects confidence, but I have started to pick up on ways it might be projecting a kind of deep insecurity. This is Shelley and Ace prior to her going off to Casa Amor and finding a connection with Chris. She comes back, she recouples with Ace, he's her number one, she makes that clear, but she wants to keep things open with Chris. Ace makes it very clear to Taylor, he doesn't lose. Tensions rise as Ace starts to confront Shelley about the different ways she is keeping open to Chris. He vents that he sent his other top pick home, Coco, because he really felt that they had a connection, he and Shelley. If he was truly more confident in himself, matching the words to the actions, he really wouldn't have a problem with Shelley exploring this much weaker connection with Chris, because he's going to know at the end of the day, she's going to choose me. He wouldn't be bringing up Coco. He sent her home. But is it clocking to you viewers that perhaps he sent Coco home not because he wasn't that interested in her, and yes, we can say he probably is obviously very interested in Shelley, but because Shelley is a safe connection that's not going to reject him. She is a known entity that he knows likes him back. This is someone he felt safe to lock in and win with. To be fair to him, us viewers, we don't see all the conversations. We do see how the boys in this socially constructed society, this environment, have these kind of behaviors that they use to communicate something using the limitations that production gives them. One of those is breakfasts. Anyone can go downstairs and make anyone a breakfast, but in this social environment, they have decided as a group, as people who watch the show prior to coming onto it, that breakfasts mean something from men to the women. It is a gendered act of service here. This ties into this whole idea about how people can latch on to a performance of a kind of action or goodness to look a certain way. And it doesn't have to do with if that person actually values you or not. The men like to use the breakfast to mark which women they're interested in, to express and communicate that interest, and to show off in a certain way. We saw that in the last episode. Ace is not the only person who has been accused of using the breakfasts to be cagey or to be possessive of the women. To his credit, he's actually been pretty cool about the breakfasts. We know that the producers can absolutely try to lean into Ace's single-eyed focus on winning this game and not show us all the conversations in which he talks about going after Shelley because he likes her as an individual person. It's not like we don't hear that, but in these tense conversations, playing up the drama might just include dropping those conversations, those parts of the conversation. The stakes have just risen for Ace because he does not want to be picked over for a 6'8" basketball player. So what Shelley and what you have to think about is, does somebody winning me as the prize actually mean something about me as an individual or them as an individual? This episode has recently brought to mind the entire idea that is being encouraged online of women being the prize. Women are encouraged to look for men who see it that way, but we have to remember there can be a specificity to this. You don't want to be prized as in a prized possession. Prized possessions don't always get taken care of. They are often collected for status. And while I get what this language is trying to do, it can unhelpfully throw us back in some ways to almost Edwardian-style dating advice. We are not estates to be collected and traded. This kind of language and them using it about us does not necessarily mean they are looking out for our best interests. So, what gets missed in all the discussion and the discourse on princess treatment and the women who are selling you courses on how to be a princess and be treated like one? The nonchalant prince is the one calling the shots, and the princess is expected to provide something back. Going back to your feminine, going back to the old days, people tend to forget that there was a transaction involved in all of that. You are supposed to be giving up a non-threatening emotional state, a calm demeanor that doesn't get ruffled, someone who never offends a fragile masculinity that doesn't want you to order for yourself. There's a certain look and quietness and modesty and a type of figure that they feel the right to demand of you. I will never say to Black women, especially dark-skinned Black women in our dating pools who are routinely denigrated and fetishized, that they should just not care about being treasured or being treated like a princess. I am also not saying that confident men are automatically red flags, and I'm certainly not going to drag a Black man I have never met on the internet because I actually don't know what's really going on here. But what shows like this can do is help us critically examine new dating advice that is being repackaged. How can good attributes that you want to look for in a partner be co-opted by manipulative people, especially used against women who are happy to get married within a year or two of dating because for them that's a reasonable timeline. There's nothing wrong with that timeline, but there are people who will use that timeline to their advantage because they know you can't give complete informed consent about what kind of person they are. They just have to perform a certain masculinity and you'll check the box. I'm not talking about Ace, but there are snakes who will study you and then present themselves in a certain way. And that's also why when you see their behavior switch up, you just cut your losses. Last night, we got our first close-off couple in Nick and Sierra, and this season is barreling down and narrowing down to the end. I want us to think about nonchalant behavior from men and princess treatment and what is presented in these solutions to the modern American economic crisis or our experiences in the ways feminism has failed us. What mass media or types of online discourse do you think is clouding our judgment? My fear is that in a time where there's a lot of fear, anxiety, and crisis, there's always this swing back towards this kind of conservative, if you follow the formula, everything will work out for you kind of attitude. I think we are forgetting the cost of that, and we are forgetting why so many women were happy to leave that behind in the first place.